Breaking medical news. Some head colds last longer than 1 week, but intrepid tech bloggers somehow find a way to soldier on. Elsewhere in the world, Nokia announces a duo of oversized smartphones and a new Windows tablet, all of which is almost immediately overshadowed by Apple's new iPad announcement. We'll talk about the results of that media coup, plus some lingering Galaxy Gear talk and your listener mail on episode 067 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast from Pocketnow where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and the state of mobile technology in 2013. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow, and today I'm joined by senior editor and apparently newly minted Gunner Optics enthusiast Taylor Martin. Hello, sir.
Hello.
And, yeah, we're going to talk about that. We've also got the grumpiest man alive, that title given by default to any Northeasterner waiting in October for his furnace to be repaired, Stephen Schenck. Hey, man.
I am wearing so many layers at the moment now, it's not even funny.
I was going to say,
I'm like an onion.
Are you reporting from inside a comically oversized ice cube right now?
No, the worst thing is my hands are cold and I can't type if I have gloves on.
Oh, that is the worst. When is someone going to come to fix your firebox, brother?
Tomorrow, maybe?
Oh, dear God. How are you going to sleep tonight? Do you have, like, a sleeping bag under your covers?
I have two comforters on my bed right now. That's been my operating procedure so far. I think it'll get me through the night.
Oh, God. It's like my night last night. I spent the night on the couch because I was so tired when I wrapped the Galaxy Gear videos that I couldn't get all the crap off my bed. So I was like, screw this. I'm going to sleep on the couch. And I made the mistake of watching Sleepers before I fell asleep, so that was creepy.
Fun dreams, huh?
Morbid, yeah. But that's nothing compared to the horror that is Taylor Martin's sheer audacity in ripping off my eyewear choice. What's going on, Taylor Martin? Tell us about how you got turned on to these Gunner Optics.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to use them in videos.
Oh, I wish you would. We could be the Gunner Optics team.
Are those the yellow glasses you always wear?
The hepatitis glasses, yeah.
Hepatitis glasses.
No, I saw Taylor's post. I didn't put two and two together on that.
Yeah, so I stared at a computer for, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
So...
No, I mean, it's a smart choice. I'm putting mine on right now. If we were a video podcast, you could see this, but we're not. And we ain't going to be.
So what's the logic here? It's just like the color makes it easier in your eyes?
Yeah, it is supposed to reduce backlight-driven eyeball strain because of specifically staring at a compact fluorescent, or not compact fluorescent, but whatever the type of backlight.
Cathode.
Yeah.
You know what? You got to go to whatever theater you're at, steal a couple gels, just put them right over the screen.
I know. That would be awesome. Or I could get one of those ones that also makes it impossible to view your screen from anything but directly
the polarizer. I know what you mean. Yeah.
The CIA panels. Yeah.
Yes, privacy screen.
Right.
Yeah, those are just polarized, right? So they remove the polarized layer from the display, and then you polarize it through your glasses.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I was thinking about the ones where it's like a bunch of little slits, and so if you get like 5 degrees off center, you can't see it.
You can't see it. Oh. Right.
The ones that are like an inch thicker than your actual monitor.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, I want to know if you can wear those in one video. I want to see what people say. Would you just do that? Can we just troll the viewers for a second?
I can try, but I'm sure the yellow lenses will make me sick.
Send me one of your hats, and I'll wear one of your hats in one of my videos. You can wear the Gunner Optics in yours. It'll be great.
Yes.
All right.
So I've been thinking about buying them for a while. They're always on Woot, so I finally pulled the trigger on some. If I don't like them, I'll
so
send them.
Expensive.
They are expensive. They're pricey. But if you go to PAX East and buy them, there are many attractive booth babes who can make you forget about your money. Because that's what happened to me. I was at PAX and I was like walking around and, oh, lo and behold, there's an attractive person trying to sell me something. I'm going to be a sucker for it. And then I bought them. But
mine were only 40. So
dear God, mine were not 40 at all.
Ooh, I'm pretty sure at CVS I can get like a $6 pair of yellow sunglasses.
Yeah, but then you're going to look like a senior citizen driving on a Sunday afternoon.
And the downside to that is...
Oh, actually, no, good call. That is a really cool thing to do. Shall we talk about cool stuff? Mine were more than yours. Shut up.
Okay. This is a sunglass show.
Let's talk about iOS because it was big news in the tech space this week. I was like at lunch because my grandparents were in town and I never see them. So I was like, I got to have lunch with these guys. Good luck with the Apple thing. How was the hangout, guys?
I've been wondering about that.
It was kind of boring.
Yeah, what did you do for the first hour?
Oh, Stephen, you were not on it?
Well, I was sitting there trying to do the news. Back then, I was still on my crappy old computer where I cannot stream video and do anything else at the same time. So I was in single operating mode. And I'm sitting there and wondering, what are these guys talking about? Because it's Mac after Mac after Mac for the first 45 minutes or so.
Well, part of the time we were making fun of Adam Dowd because his Tesla coil was back. So when he spoke, when he turned his mic on, it was like,
dear God, really? So that's what the commenters were complaining about in the feed. Because I was reading the comments last night. I'm like, what happened on this broadcast? Adam needs a new frickin' microphone, man. Like worse than Steven needs a new microphone. Like Steven, you sound pretty good considering you're using a Karaoke Revolution mic. Anyway, I'm sorry. But by and large, besides the Adam Dowd microphone problems, how was the event?
We kind of answered questions and we talked about different tablets and we made predictions and things like that. I talked about the Moto X because people were asking me left and right what devices I was carrying.
Oh, okay.
And so we talked about different things, and then when the announcement dropped, it was kind of chaos for a few minutes, and then we dropped off air. I mean, it was kind of boring.
Was it was it like a euphoric moment, or was it a disappointed moment? Because Apple dropped 2 new iPads. Basically, there's the iPad Mini 2, or iPad Mini with Retina display, which is exactly what it sounds like, and the iPad Air.
Yeah. So when they announced the iPad Air, my mind immediately raced. Are they going to release an iPad Pro? What's the Mini going to be called? Is the Mini going to be like the Featherlight? What are they doing here?
I didn't even think about that.
I'm like, why wouldn't they just call the iPad Mini the iPad Air and the larger iPad the iPad Pro?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because that would make perfect sense. But obviously they don't like to make sense, so they didn't keep the iPad 3 or iPad 4, and they kept the iPad 2.
Right. No, so, that's a whole different thing. And I actually don't mind the iPad Air branding because what was our biggest complaint about the iPad 4?
There's no number.
Well, no, not branding-wise. but
for me, it's writing about it.
But my biggest complaint about it was that it was heavy, right? Like, it was just cumbersome and unwieldy, and now they've solved that problem.
And it's so thin,
Yeah, I'm used to picking up my giant forearms anyway, so...
Just used to being so butch, brother. Check out these pythons.
Can we get some predictions going on when Apple is actually going to retire the iPad 2? Will this thing be existing? Will it be on, like, the
iPad Air
It's going to be the
HTC
Lightning
HD2 of the Apple lineup.
Yeah. So I was upset about that. Why kill the iPad 4 and not the iPad 2? Like, why do that? And it kind of hit me. One, obviously, Tim Cook is a number pusher. He's trying to cut costs. So if you create something and keep something going from 2 years ago versus something from last year, it's a lot cheaper. And they can make a higher profit margin because they're not dropping the price on it more.
Yeah.
But there's another reason. It has a 30-pin connector. So if somebody gets an iPhone 4S, which is still around, the iPhone 5 isn't, the 4S is. So if they get an iPhone 4S, which iPad are they going to go with? Are they going to go with something they have to get a different connector for, a different charger?
Yes, but they shouldn't. They're going to do that because nobody has forethought in a retail store. But
exactly, so they shouldn't. I'm not saying what they should do, but what are they going to do? This one has the same connector.
The opposite. I'm surprised they're not, redesigning the iPad 2, keeping most of the hardware intact, the cheaper display and all that, but giving it a Lightning connector just to bring it in line with everything else.
Well,
then you got to still
wonder how much money because you're spending on redesign, and then you're also losing money on old cable sales because people are still buying them things.
Yeah.
I don't know what their profit margin is on a USB cable, but I mean,
and Apple's hurting for money, so they're trying to cut every corner they can.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I was 2 seconds behind on your sarcasm there. I'm sorry for my late LOL. But the iPad Air has some really cool stuff. I wrote a piece that I didn't link to in the description called like 5 Things We Love About It, but it's got some cool stuff. It's got enough cool stuff built into the design that I'm actually considering it over the iPad Mini with Retina display. Because right now I carry, for some of my tablet stuff, I have an iPad 3rd generation, and it needs to be replaced.
You need to be replaced.
Not least of all because it's Pocketnow's and not mine, so it needs to be replaced so that I can have an iPad. But I've wanted the iPad Mini for a long time, and the iPad Mini with Retina display was very compelling to me. But now that the new iPad, the full size one, is so thin, like you said, Stephen, and so light, I don't know. I mean, are you? They both rock basically the same internals too. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't last year, if I'm remembering this correctly, didn't the first Mini have a previous gen SoC compared to the iPad 4?
It did. It had an A5 instead of the A6.
I was surprised to see them on the same level this time around. I think it was a great move.
Yeah.
So it had that, and it also had half the RAM and the terrible display. So on many fronts, it was meh.
A half measure.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, it was very, very, very interesting to a lot of people because, well, for the same reason that when I picked it up in a retail store, I didn't believe it was a real thing. I was like, wow, this is so light. It's unbelievable. And it's, it's small and portable. And every time I see one out in the real world still, to this day, I'm like, oh, man, that's a cool little tablet, Cause
And you don't get the same reaction from little Androids.
No, you don't. I mean, you do once you pick them up, but God knows that's why I fell in love with the original Nexus 7.
And I love this year's Nexus 7. I really
know you do. I know you do. See, I don't like its stretched dimensions.
I don't like the look of it.
Exactly.
It looks like 1610 or
Stephen,
something.
I thought I was the only one.
No. I'm very sensitive to design elements that do not matter at all in the real world.
Yeah, me too. Actually, after this, I'm going to fire up my Nexus 7 and give it some love because I haven't used that thing in a long time. My old one, my first gen. So let's get back to talking about the iPads though. There's other stuff here. They've both got
love iPads.
Did I say iPads?
Yes.
Oh man, it's been a rough week. I love them iPads. An iPad sounds like
That's what Android pad should be called.
Oh my God, yes. You know that some manufacturer has already badged that up and is selling them at Walgreens.
It's like a warehouse full of
$119.99. Yeah.
Google is just going to start trolling Apple. That's what they should do. Instead of trolling us, they should troll Apple.
Yeah.
Check out the new iPad Nexus.
iPad Nexus 8. Wireless speeds have been improved. I don't know anything about MIMO. We should get Joe Levi on the podcast. Actually, we tried to this time around.
I mean, our phones have that, most of them, right? Isn't that the diversity antenna pretty much for cellular? Except for Wi-Fi?
I was just about to start speculating with you based on 2 versus 5 gigahertz bands and then MIMO and then AC versus ABGNN. And AC is not included in the new iPads. But really, I'm going to get out of my depth very quickly.
And it's alphabet soup.
Yeah, then some snarky dude is going to call us jerks in the comments, and then I'm just going to leave the internet forever. So, I don't know.
I love 64-bit.
Yeah.
Just because.
I get the phone with the more GBs.
Speaking of GBs and MPs, the aft camera, if we're going to be nautical about this, on each of these, I think is the same, but the forward-facing camera has been augmented with a BSI sensor, and I don't know if larger pixels is correct, but its low-light performance is supposed to be better. Is it larger pixels?
One of them, the FaceTime, the front facer, larger pixels. I don't know how big, but better light sensitivity, hopefully.
Taylor, did you read my 5 things to love about the iPad, the new iPads piece?
No.
You should have read it. I insulted you in it, and I included a picture of you as well.
I'm reading it now.
Yeah, so I like that front-facing cameras are being given a little bit of exposure here with these. I know that nobody else really cares about these. In some of our reviews of smartphones, even like if it's a rushed week or if it falls through the cracks, we don't even test the front-facing camera sometimes, and then we have to go back and put that in after the fact because you just forget that they're there. It's amazing.
Yeah, there was that earlier this year. We saw a couple manufacturers really start bumping up the resolution on them. Like there was a couple with 5-megapixel front facers, but since then, no one cares.
And doesn't the Surface do that? Isn't it the same camera component both fore and aft? Or am I wrong on that?
IDK.
Yeah, IDK either. But
I wager that Apple should actually just stop putting cameras on the back or put the crappy cameras on the back and the great cameras on the front.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Oh, man.
Nobody needs a rear camera.
How many
Nobody
people
needs a rear camera?
We're not going to, I feel like it's 2011 again, but we're not going to have this discussion about whether you will take pictures with your tablet.
I'm going through the feeds yesterday afternoon. I don't know what site it was, but somebody wrote an editorial piece about why iPads being used as cameras is now acceptable by society.
That was 9 to 5.
That was 9 to 5?
That was 9 to 5, yes.
Wow.
Let's just put it this way. I tweeted during the event, and I said, "Stop promoting vertical video recorded on an iPad. Apple now,
well,
please."
That is true. I cannot disagree with you. What if cameras became
98 retweets?
Are you serious?
Ow.
Yeah, it went crazy.
Wow. Wow, that's nuts. What if the camera were a center-mounted component on tablets and smartphones? What if it was mounted such that no matter what orientation you used the device in, actually you don't even need to change the
you don't mean
mounting
center top edge. You mean center.
I mean center. Yeah, exactly. What if it was mounted in the dead center of tablets with a big old mechanical ball surrounding it, so that no matter what orientation you held the tablet in, it was always in landscape? If you wanted to take a portrait shot, you couldn't. That's what I want to do.
Gyroscopically balanced.
Yeah, I'm making the iPad camera troll. That's what I'm making. That's my next tablet. You're not going to be able to take a portrait
like a fold-out
shot
arm you can use for some Steadicam action.
Yes. Yeah. It goes over your shoulder.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is great. All right, good. We got a product. Venture capitalists, email me. Pricing is nothing new on these things. I don't know. We talked about thin already. It's 7.35 millimeters. What?
Pricing on the Mini is...
Oh, why? Because it's been bumped up a notch?
Yeah, $70.
No, but hold up. The iPad Mini...
$399?
Yeah, doesn't it start at $399?
Yes, it used to start at $329.
Oh, that's the thing. I was looking at the wrong spot. So
so they dropped the price by $30
you don't like that
old model. No, I don't like it.
Why don't you like it? Why don't you think it's warranted with a Retina display and the same internals as the iPad Air? Why is that not warranted, Taylor Martin?
Because I'm going to do this. I'm going to compare it to the Nexus 7. Even though we know that Nexus 7 is sold at or near cost.
The new Nexus 7.
Yes, the new Nexus 7. They have a comparable display, at least in pixels per inch. So both of them have... The iPad Mini has 324. The Nexus 7 has 323. They have 5-megapixel cameras on the back, 1.2 on the front. Similar storage capacities, at least for the first two models, so 16 or 32 gigabytes. The Nexus 7 has double the RAM, a Crate 300 CPU, so that's quad-core Crate 300, so that's part of the Snapdragon 600, but it's actually a Snapdragon S4 Pro, yada, yada, yada. Bluetooth 4.0, Wi-Fi AC. You get better specifications in a cheaper tablet. It's not that it's just cheaper. It's not that it's just cheaper. Right. It's the fact that you can buy two of them almost for the price of one iPad Mini.
Yeah, but with iOS, you're not just paying for the hardware. You're paying for the Apple experience, the ecosystem, the software. People have always put a premium on that.
Yeah, exactly. And the build quality as well. I mean, I haven't held a new iPad Mini, but I would wager that it can give the new Nexus 7 a run for its money in terms of build.
Oh, I don't doubt that. It absolutely can. But
so are you saying more like it's worth more, but not double?
Yes, the Nexus 7 is $230. The iPad is $170 more than that. You can get actually the most expensive Nexus 7 possible for cheaper than the price of the iPad Mini, the lowest capacity Retina iPad Mini.
Well, that's a freaking custom made ad right there. I'm sure they'll. If Google were a different kind of company, I'm sure they would run that.
Yeah, I mean, the most expensive Nexus 7 is $350.
Mm-hmm.
And the cheapest iPad Mini with Retina is $400, so it's $399.
Well, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the prospects for the iPad Mini, because Jaime wrote a news piece alongside this kind of stuff. This was from actually just this morning, that the iPad Mini could see some supply constraints. And when I first opened up the piece based on the headline, I was like, why are they having component shortages thanks to the display? But I'm like, wait, no, it's not that uncommon a display resolution, right? So I was like, what's going on? But according to, this is via 9to5Mac, the original source is the Telegraph, according to and they were citing a KGI securities analyst. God, this chain is long. This new tablet...
guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who talks about...
Right. It looks like Apple is... Apparently there's only a third of the units, according to these people, that Apple produced for the old iPad Mini last year. So a third of the initial run.
Are we hearing any reason why that might be?
No, I'm trying to get around. I'm trying to figure out where Jaime was going with this, really. And I tried to do it before the show, and I still couldn't. I would have liked to have had Jaime on, but he's still covering the news shifts because Tony's semi-off this week. So I don't know if this is something as a result of anticipated demand being reduced. Jaime makes a passing reference to the old iPad Mini having some supply issues. Do you guys remember that? Or not supply issues, but demand issues, actually, where people were like, not as many people were buying them as Apple expected? Kind of like what happened with the iPhone 5C?
Yeah, it was a compromise in so many ways. It really was. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I have no idea what to make of this. Maybe the higher price, but I don't think people are going to care that much. It's $70 more than last year's model and a lot better, at least on paper.
Yeah. I think we should make it clear here. This is analyst estimates. This isn't coming from like a rumor from someone who we can, like a supplier, someone who manufactures the iPad. This is looking at the industry. There might be some actual sources talking, but these sort of rumors always make me feel a little iffy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not. It's more of a jumping off point for thinking about what the iPad Mini represents to Apple, because I still don't understand it. Like, it seems like almost everyone who talks about the Mini, not a buyer, not an owner, but an analyst, a journalist, or whatever, is sort of lukewarm on it, and has been from the start. I know we're only in the second generation here, but go ahead, Taylor.
I really liked mine. I really did. I mean, the display was awful. It was so bad. But I liked it. I liked the form factor, and I don't know. Maybe Apple's just not full on in the iPad Mini. I mean, they seem excited about it, but you have to remember, Apple was also the company that said they would never make a 7-inch tablet.
Yeah.
I mean, this one's granted 7.9, but
yeah,
they said that if Steve Jobs said if he ever made a 7-inch tablet, you'd have to sell it with sandpaper. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out on it. I don't know.
I'm still waiting for them to finally go full-on widescreen for the tablets. I mean, it seems untenable to hold out on that.
I hate 4.3. I really, really do. It's like
I don't know. Like every time,
it's like a blown-up Optimus View.
Every time, no, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
it is.
Actually, it is.
But all it needs is the rubber diem.
But every time that I pick up like a 16 by 9 or a 16 by 10 tablet, like I'm like I can't use this thing in portrait orientation, and I imagine I could have a better time of it if maybe. No, I couldn't. I mean, if bezels were slimmed down, it would get even worse. Like, and then the manufacturer and the carrier usually takes the opportunity to brand the stupid thing so that you only want to use it in landscape, because if you're holding it vertically, the branding is sideways, and that's annoying. And then wait, what? Oh, and then you've got Samsung putting a stupid home button on the long side. Like, it's just. I don't know. I don't understand why 16 by 9, 16 by 10 tablets still exist. Like, we saw the Zoom come out with it. I remember still the first review photo I ever saw of the Motorola Zoom being held in portrait. And I'm like, what? No.
But everything else is.
I only ever use like 7-inch tablets in portrait. Like, I don't think I've ever wanted to use a 10-inch tablet in portrait.
Like, when I use tablets in portrait, it's generally when I'm reading in bed, I'm lying on my back, and I've got the tablet, like, on my chest if I'm tired of holding up its massive 4-pound weight in the case of the
I'm going to buy you some dumbbells.
Browsing in landscape?
What's that?
I'm buying you some dumbbells for your birthday.
I was asking Steven, because he was not regurgitating a crappy commenter thread.
What about for web browsing? Do you do that in landscape as well?
No, I do it in portrait generally.
Portrait, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just used to doing it that way, probably. So I don't mind 4:3. I think Apple shouldn't leave it, because I know everyone else is doing it. I know it's more video friendly, but I don't know.
I think
4:3 is not video friendly.
No, excuse me. The 16 by 9. What I'm saying is, I know it's 16 by 9, 16 by 10.
Yeah, I think the reason nobody really has ever tried to go down that path, like Android-wise, is probably because of the lawsuits. Against Samsung and everybody, your tablet looks like mine. I mean, it's probably a reason, but I prefer 16:9 tablets. I really do.
There also might be an industry issue, because the companies manufacturing these displays are making giant sheets that are cut up into individual screens, and when they start doing a lot of them widescreen, it makes sense to keep going with that pattern for the rest of it. This is why it's so hard to find. If you want to get a computer monitor, an LCD in 4:3, you're pretty out of luck. unless you're going to overpay or find an older model. Because it's economies of scale. You keep making more of these widescreen displays. So I can't believe Apple has been sticking to its guns. It must be a huge pain to manufacture these.
Yeah,
probably. I'm totally cool with 16.9, except for on the Tablet Z, because it's like I could use this thing as a surfboard. The bezel on this thing is enormous.
Let's move on to. I want to ask about the about speculation on iPads and stuff that hasn't really come to pass. We're talking about Steven's poll, which I really liked, and this was cool. I wish I'd been in on this speculation fest, but when it was happening, because now it's just kind of academic until next year, I guess. But when Apple released the iPhone 5C, I think there was this really cool mental leap that happened in some brains, not mine, because this was huge news to me, that, oh, wow, they could probably do a plastic iPad. Steven, was this like your idea, or what was the deal here? I'm talking on the team, not, globally.
I mean, it seemed like the obvious step to do. If you're making that change to the phone side of your devices, why not at least consider it for the tablet side? In real life, though, I'm not so sure that it's something that Apple might actually be going down. I mean, we just mentioned the screen dimensions. Clearly, Apple doesn't need to have its phone and tablets perfectly in alignment. But if they wanted to go with plastic, there's a number of benefits they might get. We could see a slightly cheaper device, maybe slightly more durable. I don't think it would help much with weight, because, I mean, Apple is great at manufacturing aluminum so that it's strong, thin, light.
Right.
But I mean, it's
easily chipped.
Yeah, I feel like plastic would be more durable. It could take a scratch, but it's not going to get dinged up quite so easily. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm holding the iPhone 5C now, and I mean it's a heavy beastie, which I like, because when you're plastic, you want to offset that. But I don't think it's like end cost that would be the real benefit to Apple. It would be in profit margins again. Like making a plastic iPad, I imagine they could apply some of the same lessons they learned from this 5C, which I still like carrying around in its current state. I mean, I don't know if I would deal with this on a tablet, though. I'm really, really on the fence about this.
But so I had to wonder, why not do like what they did with the 5C? Instead of still selling last year's iPad, repackage the hardware in a plastic, easier to produce, higher margin case, and then sell that as the lower gen.
I kind of understand why, and it's actually coming to me after doing this comparison with the Note 8.0 and the Note 10.1. Pretty much every Samsung tablet to date, minus the Nexus 10 and now the 10.1, the Note 10.1, has been hyperglaze, and that is absolutely the worst thing. It's not just because we hate hyperglaze, but it makes the tablet slick and generally hard to hold and kind of slimy.
Yeah.
And it feels like utter crap.
It's nasty.
Now, I don't like the 5C. I went to a store, I held one. I don't like the finish on it. I don't like slick finish anything, really. And that's, I think, part of the same thing is an iPhone that fits in your hand is one thing. Something that's going to require two hands to hold and be a little heavier, with pair that with a slick coating. It's not a good combination.
You could always go the Note 3 route, give it some texture to it.
Can you imagine Apple doing that?
No.
Look at our faux leather iPad.
Yeah,
No.
after just abandoning all that skeuomorphism in iOS.
Yeah. So I think that's probably why.
Is this evidence that Apple is not fully behind the idea of going plastic with the 5C? I'm not saying that they're going to change course on the phone. I'm saying that if they were really going to jump into this thing with both feet, why not have a line of multicolored plastic iPads alongside their multicolored plastic iPhones, and then call that the entire low end of the lineup? I mean, if they're not doing that, then why? Then does that mean that next year we might not see the 5C again? We might see something very different.
I don't think so. I think it's like I was saying, Apple isn't that committed to having a unified look for its products anymore. I feel like it's getting more comfortable loosening up.
What did the poll say? What were the poll results from our readers? The question was, would you buy a plastic iPad? Number one response. I should say the number one.
You know.
Yeah. Well, the number one response that wasn't on the poll, which is reflected in the comments, is why would I ever consider anything from Crapple anyway? Which is, of course, the most mature and awesome way to look at anything. But of the polls that were presented, if I wanted a plastic tablet, I'd get an Android. 48% of respondents said that. Our massive sample size. And then the first runner-up, if it's cheap enough and the hardware is still decent, sure. So yes and no, that's interesting. I mean, I expected there to be a much wider no gap here, you know?
And the people who wanted it seem to respond to price besides any other possible benefit that plastic might bring.
Yeah. I like that you presented an option for a ruggedized build. If plastic translates to a ruggedized build, then sign me up. I mean, yeah, man.
I had to make sure that Steven wrote this and not you, Michael, after I saw that.
The ruggedized bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am obsessed with rugged phones.
I voted for the cheap enough hardware, or cheap enough if the hardware's still decent. But that's not ever going to happen because Apple, we've learned, Apple is not making plastic devices to make them cheaper. Their cheaper models are still their old models.
Yeah. No, it's what I was just saying. Yeah, it's profit margin. Not end cost. Well, that's the Apple news. I want to move on to Windows, but I want to ask you guys if you are at all titillated by either of these units.
Well, I was planning on possibly buying the Air, but I'm reviewing it anyway, so I'll buy it anyway.
Yeah. Okay, all right. What about you, Steven?
They're nice enough. I'm definitely impressed specifically with the Mini and the hardware inside there, but iOS is just a non-starter for me. So
even iOS 7? Even new, flat, colorful iOS 7?
I can't get past the app issues, man.
Yeah, I got you. I understand. I am sort of in the same boat, but the Mini continues to entice me. It just has that magic. So I tell you what.
What app issues?
You can't sideload.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's the grid. For me, it's the UI. I really like iOS 7, but I can't stand that landing page all the time. But we all know this. This is all old news. I'm going to be reviewing the... Oh, am I not going to... I don't know who's reviewing the iPad Mini. Do we know? Do we know this?
You are.
Oh, yay. Okay, I'm reviewing the iPad Mini.
You are now.
Excellent. So I'm reviewing the iPad Mini, so I'm very excited to see it, and we'll get to it. There's other stuff to get to, though, and it's time we moved on to Windows. Who... At Nokia World, we're very well represented. I can't get over this. Like, I know that this is the rule of the day, but companies just trashing each other in terms of event scheduling just cracks me up. Nokia, am I wrong on this? Did Nokia have Nokia World scheduled for like weeks and weeks in advance before the Apple event was announced?
Before we got official confirmation of Apple.
Yeah, and so Nokia World was always scheduled for October or whatever it was.
Yeah, but I don't think Nokia was purposely, or even if it wasn't, if they had planned in advance, I don't think that this is at all intended to cram a lot of events into the one day to steal attention from the other guys. Because the Nokia thing was at 3 a.m. here.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Nokia had this thing planned out and they had it all set in their calendar, and then Apple came and crapped on them. Because these events happened on the same day. The iPad announcement happened, listeners, if you're not aware, happened on the same exact day as Nokia World, where they announced all their stuff. And
Apple, I would totally believe Apple did that on purpose.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're like,
even though it's totally unnecessary, it's kind of like
there's no competition there.
It's kind of like the big steroid using 11th grader going to the playground to find the sort of handicapped 4th grader and then kicking him in the face, right? And not that
school has too many grades in one place.
Well, it was a small town, you understand.
Okay,
but I got out of 4th grade. It's all right. But no, the thing is, it's not that I'm a giant fan of Nokia, and that analogy is not perfect, but they're really not a threat to Apple at this moment, I don't think, right?
Not really. Well, I mean, on the low end, yeah.
Oh, on the low end, yes.
Lumia 520 is...
Yeah, but does Apple care about the low end?
Right. I mean, not if you hear them tell it. But
no, they care nothing about it.
Anyway,
we don't care.
No. Oh, what are the poor people using this? No. So anyway, I thought that bit of corporate trollery was awesome. This Nokia World event happened in Abu Dhabi. to everyone who complained that they didn't see sufficient coverage from us, guys, we didn't go to Abu Dhabi, so sorry. Don't know what you want us to do. We're going to be reviewing the Lumia 1520. The 1320 is going to be announced for Europe, released in Europe and Asia, so we're not going to cover that probably unless we are able to. And then the 2520 tablet was announced. All these three devices were announced at once. I can't say it any other way. We would have loved to have been there. Right, Taylor?
Sure.
I would very much like to be there in lovely, was it United Arab Emirates, now that my heat is what it is, because that must be 95 degrees right now?
I'm sure it's pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have gone to Abu Dhabi, but Nokia event was cool, I guess.
I would have loved to have gone to the Nokia event, to see them launch their first tablet, to see them launch their first phablet.
I feel like I would have been let
Windows
down,
Phone,
though.
I mean.
Yeah.
By the end result? By the products?
Well, we were supposed to be all this other stuff. We didn't see that
The Lumia
music
929,
player.
and then listen, if that iPod aping music player got canceled, more power to him, because, come on, guys, it's not the year for that.
Yeah. Still, I was hoping to see a lot more. There was good stuff, don't get me wrong. We had such high expectations going in. This was going to be like opening up the, Nokia treasure trove. Oh, did we even get the treasure tag?
Oh.
Did they announce that?
I don't know if they did they?
I didn't hear anything about that, but
Nokia
looked
treasure
like it was gonna
tag.
surface.
It was pictured alongside the Lumia 1520.
Right. So maybe it's going to come out in another week or two.
Yeah, no, it's not. It doesn't look like it's been really talked about. The press render's out there. It's leaked, but they didn't. I don't think they talked about it. Anyway, so the 1520, what is it? It's a big old Windows Phone phablet, and I just watched the official Nokia Conversations hands-on of this device a couple hours before coming on the air, a couple minutes, whatever. And man, this thing looks cool. I mean, I didn't expect to be jazzed on it, but it's got basically downrated specs from the 1020 in terms of the camera. We're looking at a 20 megapixel ultra pixel. No, that's HTC. A 20 megapixel pure view shooter.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah, so was I, man. Ultra pickles. It's got a 20 megapixel pure view sensor that is optically stabilized without, for some reason, they've managed to do this without incorporating the big old protruding Oreo from the 1020. It's a BSI
Well, it looks like it has a
sensor.
wart on the back, at least from this angle.
It's way smaller. It's like the camera lens on the 925, to me.
Okay. Well, it just reminds me of the back at the Note 8.0, which looks like it just has this nasty wart on the back.
No, this is way different. This is like different in a Nokia way. I like it better. But, it's different because I say it's different. And the display,
that's why I'm
though,
laughing.
has gotten a considerable upgrade. It's 1080p, I believe a first in the Windows Phone space. And as a result of GDR3 sensing that it's on a 1080p display, you get an extra row of home screen live tiles.
Remember, they're saying it's not the pixels, it's the size that they're going for.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's not the resolution, it's the display size, which I believe is 6 inches on the mark? Yes, it is.
Yes.
So that's substantial.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
And
watch
too
the
big.
hands-on, here's the
big?
here's the thing. I don't think it's too big. I think it's too big in the same way the Galaxy Mega is too big. I don't think it's too big in the same way the One Max is too big. In that, I think this space is used more effectively by Windows Phone than it is by stock Android or skinned Android. Except for Samsung's implementation, which uses split screen, which instantly adds more value. So,
Yeah.
it was a very
I can
long
see that.
sentence, but it was correct.
Windows Phone's dense, and it works well on things this size.
It does. You pack enough live tiles into an area that you don't have to scroll as much. You can just kind of the glanceable dream can be realized. Maybe not in the way that Microsoft first intended it 3 years ago.
The way you said that sounded awesome. The glanceable dream
Can be realized. Yeah, it's like an industrial training video from 1955.
The glanceable dream. I was getting more of like a I don't know, 17th century like speech.
Okay. Yeah.
Inspirational. The glanceable dream. Like,
It does sound like a hot air balloon, doesn't it? So anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff on here. The wireless charging has been integrated once again, thankfully, because the sleds just didn't work, in my experience, on the 1020. We've got a bunch of different colors on this unit, and it's coming to the United States. It's going to be an AT&T exclusive here, from everything I understand, which when I read, I instantly fell down in shock and surprise. And, I was taken aback. Weren't you, Stephen?
It's totally unexpected from Nokia and AT&T, seriously.
Really? They've never had a tight relationship in the past. But I don't know. Do you guys think Taylor thinks it's too big? Stephen, do you think this is too big, or do you think this is like a step on the road to merging with RT?
Yeah, I think it's not the best phone, perhaps, but we really need to get Windows Phone moving on up into larger spaces or kill off RT or something. Microsoft needs to solve this mid-sized tablet problem, and we're getting those cheaper, the full 8 tablets, and that's a good step. But I think it really needs to decide what to do about Windows Phone on this larger scale. Is it going to keep on moving it up? Are we ever going to see a 7-inch Windows Phone-based device? This is a necessary in-the-middle step.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this phone at 5.5 might have been a little better. I'm kind of jaded towards super big phones, and that's how it's going to be until I
love the Mega. I don't understand how you can say that, because you really like the Mega.
I liked the Mega. I love the Note 8.0, the Note 3.
We all need a vacation.
This week
has been hellish. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, this thing, just based on the 1020, which I still carry, the bezels on that thing just make it so tall. And that's, by looking at this, that's what I'm feeling, is just, it makes me think of the Z Ultra, because that thing just had enormous bezels on the top and bottom, and when you put it in your pocket and sit down, it'd jab you and poke you, and
yeah.
So that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, I want to get one in my hands and see what it's like, but I also think that physically, if it's big, like if its physical footprint is larger than the Note 3, I want nothing to do with it. I'm standing by that. I said it, and I'm standing by it.
Maybe it's some phones you just don't put in your pants pockets. You have to have a bag or a jacket or something, and
I don't know, like a stick with a little
a papoose.
like a.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't disagree with you, Taylor. I am also excited to see this. I read something interesting today, and this was I think this was a story on the Tech Block or something like that. And there was a wonderful quote about how the tech media reports on tech. And basically the central premise of this piece was tech journalism needs to move beyond just hawking the latest bright and shiny thing because it's new and exciting. And it's true.
Pray tell, what should we be covering then?
No. We should cover it. I don't think that's the thing, but I think that I think we have a problem in that industry-wide review scores are higher than they should be. Mm-hmm. Insights that still do review scores. Insights that don't do review scores, I think reviews are too generous. I don't think anyone is harsh enough. And when I came aboard here, I was excited about being harsher. But there's a very real it's not really biased because it's platform agnostic. It happens to every single device. Whether, from iOS to BlackBerry even, things come in and they're new, so they have this instant kind of cachet. They have this instant, like, ooh, well, this is
allure,
this novelty. Yes. Mm-hmm. And if you're not careful, that can creep into the end product of the review, and suddenly you look at your average review score thing, and it's like, wow, I don't go below a 7 like ever. Why is that? And
because the time you do, you get absolutely reamed by everyone ever.
Annihilated, right.
And we're not going to review the really, really awful phones out there.
Exactly.
Because then you kind of stomp on your relationships then. People are like, hey, why'd you review this so low?
Well, that's the problem,
and
right?
Because it's not great.
A bad review is the most work ever because you get slammed in the comments. You have to moderate those more heavily. And then you have to explain to the PR companies for the manufacturers why you gave it a bad review. And then they offer to send you another unit, which is like, okay, great. And then you have to review that unit. More often than not, it's still crap because you weren't wrong. And then you have to write a piece that says, did we review a bad unit? Nope. It's like, and then nobody's happy. Yeah, I don't know. So we're gonna move on. This is a bigger question. This is a bigger issue that I want to cover in depth, more specifically in terms of review scores. We've talked about it a lot. We talked about it a lot around the G2. The whole atmosphere is it's just kind of poisoned in every different direction. But the reason I bring it up is because this 1520, is going to land in my inbox or yours or anybody's, and not
it. I'm touching my nose. Not it.
Well, I would love to review it, but the thing is, I'm going to see the greatness in it, but it's so difficult to couch the negatives in terms that can be accepted both by normal people and by people who are like, listen, I value a large screened device, and just because it's not right for everyone doesn't mean this thing deserves to get kicked, and that's true. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so the Z Ultra review, I gave it a decent review. It's not a bad phone, but I scored it lower because it's not ideal for everyone.
This is the problem with scores, because there's no uniformity there.
We do our best with our little matrix at the bottom, the score for you, but there's only so much flexibility you can have there and still have the information be useful.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're going to score something differently. If you see a display, and you might give that display a 7, I might give it a 5, and Brandon might give it a 2. So there is always going to be some subjectivity to number scores because we all weigh things differently.
And we've parlayed that into an advantage. Like if you come read Pocketnow, listeners, who, believe it or not, we are still talking to you and not just amongst ourselves on the air on the Pocketnow Weekly. If you come to Pocketnow, you'll notice that we have 9 guys with completely different opinions, and we generally don't present anything as the site's opinion. But unfortunately, one of the only areas we do that is in reviews, where it makes no sense to do it. So I think what we're saying is there are things I would like to change about the way we do reviews. It's funny we're having this.
We would like to change.
There are things everyone on the site
saying B, not I.
Right, but remember, we all have different opinions. I don't want to speak for you, Taylor. No, but here's the thing. It's weird that we're having this conversation on a week where we actually haven't posted any reviews. And we have. Yes. The Galaxy Gear is a de facto review. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's move on from the 1520. I think maybe that topic got a little shortchanged this week. I'm sorry. There's just not a lot to talk about. It's a giant screened Nokia Windows phone with another column of tiles, which I'm excited about. A camera that seems pretty epic. They've combined the Smart Cam and the Pro Cam into one app, which was overdue. Should have been done from the beginning, and that's awesome. Hopefully they've also taken the lag out of the Pro Cam app on the initial startup. And
what about white balance? Can they fix that?
Yeah, I'm sure they can. If
that's actually going to be fixed in the black update.
If Motorola can make the Moto X camera passable from awful, then you can do anything.
There you go.
Let's talk. I don't want to talk about the 1320 that's been announced for Europe and Asia. Boom, it's out there. It'll be whatever. It'll be the 625 for the larger form factor. And the 2520. Guys, I don't know what to make of this. Someone talk about this thing, because I just don't care about a Windows RT device. Tell me why I'm wrong.
You're right. No, I mean, it's just somebody tweeted me yesterday, and they're like, "You guys don't give RT enough credit." And
right. No, this is exactly what I want to talk about.
We give it exactly the amount of credit it deserves.
Do we though?
Yes.
I don't know. True? I wrote something last night, and there were some commenters coming on. I mentioned something about limited functionality, and someone really took issue with that phrasing. I'm sorry. It's not that you can't get online with it. You can't download apps. It's just when you can do so much more with a full Windows 8 tablet, you can't help but see RT in terms of what it doesn't do.
Yes.
That's a solid point. Now,
and when you compare even RT to Android or iOS, so an iPad, you have much broader ecosystems there. So it's
but that's the same problem with the Windows Phone.
But it's not. No, it's not, because Windows Phone has a much more robust ecosystem than Windows.
Oh, then RT, sure, but I mean, compared to the early on, it was.
I see what you're saying.
It's no longer as big a problem as it once was. Especially with, we got to mention it here, especially with Instagram and Vine coming to the platform. That should have been a separate topic on this podcast, but I know that everyone knows what our opinion is here, right? I'm a freaking fanboy for Instagram. I think it's great news. It's awesome. Vine, I don't really care about, but I know millions of people do, so that's awesome. For the platform, that is a massive, massive win. The unfortunate part of it, and I'm sorry, guys, I know we'll get back to RT in a second here, but the unfortunate part of it is that I do see this thing in the press where it's like, I see more stories about the fact that it took 3 years for Windows Phone to get Instagram than I do that Windows Phone is finally getting Instagram. And by the way, it had it with 6tag in a de facto sense, but I don't know.
6tag's great.
6 is outstanding. But to have the stock app conveys a legitimacy upon the platform where no longer can people just kind of out and out dismiss Windows Phone and say, no, well, guys, it doesn't even have Instagram. How can I take it seriously?
Well, now it's just, not going to have, I don't know, cut the rope or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
so, I mean, if it's not one app, it's another.
Right. Yeah.
But my point with Windows RT is that when you compare it to what it can do compared to, Android and iOS or even Windows 8 Pro, it's kind of in the middle without an ecosystem. It's kind of out there by itself, but it's trying to appeal and come off as sort of Windows 8 Pro. Is coming off. That's what Microsoft, I think, is kind of banking on. Hey, this is Windows in a lighter form, but you can still do everything with it.
Well, now remember, they are downplaying. They're downplaying the RT and the branding, and they're downplaying the desktop.
Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of my point. Like they're trying to not harp on that too much and say, hey, it's a cheaper Windows thing, but it's
to be fair,
and
Microsoft's been downplaying the desktop side to Windows 8 as well. It really wants you using this, touch-based Metro interface.
Sure, it does, and which is not well suited for interaction with a mouse. So that's why they have to kind of straddle that line there, and that's a whole different mess. But I want to
they should just integrate Leap Motion.
Yeah, gross. I want to keep this confined.
Did you ever get that, by the way, Taylor? Did it ever come out?
I plugged it up to my computer last weekend. I got it months ago and never used it. So you can't really do much with it. You can play games, and about 5 minutes after playing Cut the Rope with it, you want to pull your hair out. So it's awesome in what it will be able to do. What it can do right now is, but I did download some plugins or apps for my Mac.
I don't care.
So I can use gestures on my desktops.
Cool.
So I can control my computer with my hands floating in the air.
Be sure to visit Desktop Now for that news. DesktopNow.com for all that
Michael.
scintillating desktop discussion. Who gives a damn?
Thank you for keeping us on track.
Yeah, no problem. So now that we're at 55 minutes and I've just spent some time editing out those swear words that Taylor Martin made me use in anger, what are we going to do about this 2520? What's going to happen? Why did Nokia release it? I don't know. This thing, when it was leaked, I was like, BS. No way are they going to waste their time on a Windows RT tablet. What are they thinking? But there's got to be some
practice.
I don't know.
Elon showed you, didn't he?
What if we're seeing Nokia Surface tablets a year from now? What if this was like how they sort of ease themselves into that?
That could well be. Let's talk about what it contains. 1080p display, it's 10 inches, 650 nits of brightness. That's awesome. It's got LTE built in. It runs on a Snapdragon 800. Did this surprise anyone else? I didn't.
No,
I just read that, so I'm a little surprised, just because I just read that.
I'm pretty sure that's what the rumors thought it was going to do for a while.
But I don't know. Maybe it's because my knowledge steeply drops off as we approach the crossover category. But I never pictured Windows RT as being able to run on a Snapdragon 800. I don't know why. I just thought it was too resource intensive as this kind of faux desktop OS. But
Microsoft has some weird thing with SoCs and its tablet OEMs. Wasn't it like assigning a certain manufacturer's chips to each OEM, and they could only use those?
Really?
This was last year. I believe I heard this. Like Samsung had to only use, I don't know, Qualcomm, and someone else could only use Tegra's.
Really?
I don't know. They have weird control issues.
Fascinating. Yeah, I don't know.
I may be completely off about this.
They stood in one room and they drew straws.
All right, what else?
And whoever got Tegra got the short straw.
This is there's a 6.7 megapixel rear camera. Interesting, from Nokia. It's got Zeiss optics. I'm sure it'll be the best tablet camera we've ever seen. 2 megapixel front facer. Who cares? 8,000 milliamp hour battery, fairly standard. And right, that's the exciting thing. It's got Qualcomm's quick charge technology, so you need to use a special plug for it, but it will leverage the quick charge capabilities of the 800 SoC. So that's cool, and it retails for $499 unsubsidized, and it
also comes paired with an external subwoofer, right?
What? No, that's the HTC One Max.
oh, sorry.
Wow. Yeah. So I don't. And then it's got a $150 keyboard accessory for it. So I don't know. I just didn't think that this would happen. So I wonder if it would have happened if it weren't for the pending acquisition. it seems to me that if you want to get into the tablet game, I don't know. I just Windows RT is not the way to do it. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're being very short-sighted. Maybe RT is in fact.
Maybe if they make this dual boot with Android.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, yeah, that'll solve everything. So I'm confused. I'm interested, but I'm confused, and I'm hopeful that we will review this tablet. But we will have to see. If
I'll do it, just not if it's white. If they send me a white one, I will send it back.
Send it to me. I don't mind a white one.
If they send a white one, I will send it back.
In the last bit of absolutely Nokia dominated Windows news this week that we cover anyway. Nokia has committed or achieved an awesome PR coup. Stephen, can you tell the story, please?
Okay, so there was this filmmaker who put together a clip. He went down to the people getting in line for the iPhone 5S last month, and talked with them about why they were there. They were there because they just felt like this is the thing that Apple fans do. If they were really enthused about it, and it kind of the tone to it wasn't the most positive thing. It was sort of people getting caught up in fandom, maybe not understanding why. And so he published this, and it got some nice traction online. But then Apple stumbled across it. They took the video portion of it. They repurposed it then for their own uses internally. They sped it up. They added some, lighthearted music, and they were overlaying all the great headlines that people were saying about the 5S. So it changed from a slightly critical piece about the release to something showing how dedicated Apple fans are, and Apple hit another one out of the park with this. And so it made the rounds at Apple internally, and I don't know if they published it or just word leaked, and it got out that not only did they take this guy's work and completely change the spirit of it, but they took his name off it in the process. They weren't giving him any credit for it. So
Casey Neistat is who it was.
Yeah, that's the guy's name. And Nokia got wind of this after the story was out, and they thought that they would try to get some good PR. So they sent him a 1020, a great phone to use if you're going to be shooting video. I think I'm more impressed by the awesome case they put it in.
Yeah, it looks like a Pelican.
Put it in this mini Pelican case that's yellow on the outside, black on the inside.
Throw that off an airplane; it'll land fine. Good to go.
And a note.
And the note says, Casey, we know it sucks when you have your ideas ripped off. Stay original, Casey, and we hope you'll consider capturing some new moments on this. If you're into it, let's do something together. Truly, your friends at Nokia. It's so awesome.
Art strings, yeah.
It's so awesome. I love this. It's such a cool, interesting way of countering, of taking advantage of somebody else's bad PR and playing into an existing marketing scheme that they were using, which is when the iPhone 5C was announced, Nokia was all like, "Hey, Apple, thanks for the compliment. We appreciate your imitation." That was lame and that was stupid. But this plays into it in a much cooler way, and in a way that's guaranteed to go, for lack of a better term, go viral on the internet.
It's like a positive attack ad. You're playing off someone's already. Apple attacked itself.
Passive-aggressive. Yeah, it's the most passive-aggressive way to do something.
It's so cool.
I like it.
I really like it. I want to shake the hand of the person that came up with this move. So I'm very interested to see. I'm going to now follow Casey Neistat on Twitter, and I'm very interested to see what happens.
I actually started following him about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so it was kind of
cool really?
Because I saw that unfold. I saw when he got upset because Apple stole it.
Oh, okay.
I saw him tweet it, and I'm like, interesting.
Well, Apple is not the only company to have suffered some theft. To have committed some theft. It has also suffered a lot from theft, and that came to my attention in the Android part of my week when I was reviewing the Galaxy Gear smartwatch, which I love and can find a lot of areas to improve, and that's encapsulated in 2 videos. We'll talk about that in a second, but what I'm talking about is, guys, the commercial we've all been drooling over, the 2 commercials about the Galaxy Gear, right, where Samsung is like, hey, remember all these smartwatches from your childhood? Check it out, now you can have one. The one I'm talking about, right?
This is one of those moments where you shouldn't speak for me because I wasn't drooling over either. I wasn't born from, for the times that all those things they were referencing. I was not even a thought at that point.
I'm not familiar with this. What did they have?
Are you
Get
serious?
Smart shoe phone, Inspector Gadget watch, Dick Tracy. What are we talking about?
Jerks.
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly right. They had all of that, and Jetson's phone, and the Star Trek communicator watches, and all that kind of stuff. It was all strung together in a very well done, nostalgic commercial that ended with "Now it's here," and there's a Galaxy Gear, and it's the next big thing, and blah blah blah. But it was the best Samsung commercial. It was the best commercial Samsung ever did, and it's backed by like a really hip LCD sound system song. Like it's really really excellent. And I loved it, and I thought it was a turning point for Samsung, and it may still be because I've always hated their advertisements and found them unfunny and stupid and lame and plotting and cloying and stupid. So I love these new ones. So
they were unmoving to me.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Let's just not be friends. And you have
But I'll get you Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
You have no heart, sir. I have my own Dunkin' Donuts. It's right next to me. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Someone tweeted about this. Someone who writes for a design blog tweeted a tweet that went something like, "I've never seen such a shameless ripoff. I'm disgusted." And like linked to the Samsung Galaxy Gear commercials. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Of what? Yeah. And then he linked to, it wasn't a piece he wrote. It was just like a blog post with that video alongside a 5 or 6 year old video, 6 years, I guess, at this point, advertising the first iPhone. Do you guys remember the first iPhone's hello spot? No. When it was a TV spot, it was about 30 seconds or 60 seconds, depending, and it was the exact same thing, just with people not talking on their watches, but people from the last 50 or 60 years of TV and film picking up a phone and saying hello. You don't remember this?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Right.
So I was like 8 years old at the time. I don't know.
If you watch, remind me, Stephen, remind me that we only need to have old dudes on the show from now on. We got to crotchety. We got to give the young people their own table. Okay, that's thanks.
Get off my lawn.
But if you watch the Apple commercial alongside the Galaxy Gear commercial, like the tone is exactly the same, and like I wouldn't be surprised if the length of the cuts was exactly the same. It's unbelievable.
I want to say that that's been done before, though. I can't think of any specific instance, but it seems like it's a general sort of trope. Like, a car manufacturer must have done something exactly like that. And now the new Chevy Altima something.
Yeah, at some point everything is a copy, right? And there's got to be something that predates the Apple commercial that totally nullifies this viewpoint, right? Ultimately, it doesn't change
these
anything.
Are both mobile companies, so maybe we should be.
And they're mobile companies that have historically been accused of copying each other.
Yeah.
Right?
I can say this. I just watched that Hello iPhone commercial.
Yeah.
And I can relate more to that.
Of course. What? I don't care.
They used the Big Lebowski and Zoolander and things that I can relate with.
Two of the most highly overrated films in the history of the cinema. I'm sorry.
You shut your mouth about Zoolander.
No, I can't. It's not funny. I don't get it. It's not funny to me. Wow. I don't understand it.
Maybe you're too old.
And Big Lebowski, like, I don't know, after being told it was awesome for 6 years, I finally watched it one night. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, John Goodman's, big and angry. That's cool. Anyway. The Galaxy Gear smartwatch.
And Pulp Fiction.
Well, Pulp Fiction is pretty excellent, but I don't like Quentin Tarantino otherwise. But anyway, here, I know, right? We're all going to have a big artistic kerfuffle on the podcast, but not now, because we need to talk about the Galaxy Gear, specifically, dudes, related to what we were talking about before with regard to our review structure and stuff. This was something where we took an opportunity to do something different. I didn't want to just do a review because we were late, because we weren't in the early seeding batch of Galaxy Gears, so we had to wait for a second wave, and thanks to our friends at AT&T, we got one. And I was like, no, we're what are we, like 2 weeks beyond the first reviews landing? we're not just gonna do another review. So we decided to split them up, and we have 2 videos up, 5 awesome things about the Galaxy Gear, 5 awful things about the Galaxy Gear. It's also a fun little experiment to see which one gets viewed more. Do you guys want to play?
This is like bets? The 2 tip jars.
Yeah. What? What happened?
Like 2 tip jars. You go to a coffee shop. You vote for something by.
That happens elsewhere too. I thought that was like a Boston thing. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, cool. Yeah. So it's exactly like that. I want to see. I guarantee you that the awful one gets watched like 5 times more because people love drama.
Yes, probably.
What are you talking about?
Right now it has more views.
Does it have more views right now?
It does. They have similar amounts of likes and dislikes, but The awful ones has about 100 more views.
And about
almost 200.
Probably 70 more comments, I would guess. People like to comment on that one better. Anyway, so that's a fun experiment. Go watch those. Also, and this will, I think, be the last bit of Pocketnow Insider-esque type stuff, people are mind-blowingly committed to having us cover the Galaxy Gear as it compares to the Sony Smartwatch 2. Well, I'm trying not to air a lot of our dirty laundry, and I'm not going to do that. But, guys, the simple truth of it is that we didn't get a Smartwatch 2 to review. We don't have a very solid relationship with Sony, despite our best efforts, so we don't have one. If we don't have a review unit, we have to go buy one, and we can only buy so many units a month because we're not massive. So I'm sorry, we haven't reviewed the Smartwatch 2 yet. I would love to. I love watches. I'm a geek for smartwatches. I would like to get one, but I can't right now. So we will try to do so.
I think what you need to do is take a tripod with you, go to like a Best Buy or something, just camp out in aisle 4.
That's exactly right. Like if this was a different situation, if we were like, if it was just me and I was captain2phones.com and it was like 2010, that's what I would do. I'd like sneak into a Best Buy and be like, hey guys, this is a little hands-on of this Sony Smartwatch 2. It's pretty cool. No, I don't need any help, thank you. It's got buttons on the side and But we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So we'll do it when we can.
Basically, the comments to what you just said are going to be, you don't have a great relationship with Sony because you're biased against Sony.
That's right.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly what's going to happen. Yes, it's true.
We are not. We have explained this a million times.
God, yes. Anyway, so that's, as I promised, that will be our last bit of kind of meta. The Galaxy S4 has sold 40 million in 6 months. Are all of us on the air very surprised by this metric? Did we think that this thing was going to be a big flop? No, we did not. Android,
we knew it was going to be bigger than the S3, so yes, par for the course.
Exactly. Despite the fact that I don't think they're hitting the numbers that they thought they were going to hit. I have zero to back that up. But Stephen, are you seeing anything on the news side?
Well, yeah, that's what all these rumors about an early Galaxy S5 launch are based upon.
Oh, that's right. We talked about
they're
that.
Good but not great, so they want to rush this one out of the gate.
Right.
That makes sense. Hey, this one's not going to do as good as we thought it would, so let's push this one out early and send out an unfinished product. Sweet. That sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go ahead and sign that one. Yeah, let's do it.
You're not
and you know what? Let's use that guy's cross your eyes to zoom feature, because that one sounds great.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That's what it needs.
Whoa, we'll see about that. I've been using the Galaxy Gear has required me to use a Galaxy Note 3, of course, the past week, and I've been very happy to use the black one. As we talked about with Marquez last week, it's been really cool to use the softer, better feeling one in the hand. And I'll take the opportunity. What, Stephen? Go ahead.
That was actually me. Did you send
really?
The Verizon one my way?
No, I didn't do that.
Thanks, guy. I've been asking the ladies in the office. I'm like, hey, have you got a package for me? They're like, no.
I'm
5
sorry.
minutes later,
This week,
do you have a package for me?
I'm sorry. This week has been atrocious. I apologize. It'll go out to you soon. We'll all have Galaxy Notes again, and it'll be great. And
I don't have a Galaxy Note.
Except for Steven. But you like your Nexus 4.
I do. I have the first
I'll send you the...
the first one, yeah.
I'll send you the Note 10.1.
Please don't.
No.
What did I do to you?
It's actually nice. If it had an Exynos, or it didn't have the Exynos, it'd be 100 times better. But
if some butts were candy and nuts.
Android 4.3 with Sense 5.5 starts hitting HTC Ones is the next bit of news on the rundown. This is important because formerly you could only get Sense 5.5 with its blink feed and gallery enhancements on the One Max, which is not only going to be less popular than the One probably, but it's also going to be not delayed in its availability, but you can get a One right now and you can't get a One Max right now. So blah, 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 blah. The Sense 5.5 update will make you happy. If you have an HTC One, you want to download this as soon as you can. Carrier testing obviously has to go through on some of this stuff, but the enhancements that you can see in the One Max review are really, really cool. And they're especially cool on the One. So get it.
This render for that article, the blue HTC One, that render looks beautiful.
Well, the blue great. HTC One is a beautiful phone.
I saw it in person. I didn't like it.
What? You are a strange person. Why didn't you like it?
I don't know. This looks more like baby blue than the other one.
The one washed out in person.
It's
to
more
me,
washed out
looks,
than the red one. The red one is more brilliant, but the blue one is excellent.
Yeah, the blue one looks like Duke blue in person, though.
Duke blue?
Yeah, Duke blue.
What the hell is Duke blue? Oh, Duke like Duke University?
Duke. Yeah, that's a North Carolina thing. Super Carolina.
Oh, okay.
It's a big rivalry here in North Carolina.
I was
UNC
like,
and Duke.
I was like, what? A John Wayne like wear a lot of blue at some point? Like, what are you talking about?
I was thinking like
Hey,
poo-poo
Duke.
blue, and that didn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, man. So let's wrap it up on
like
Android.
the blue, the blue in the toilets on the airplanes, that stuff.
Oh, that's
Okay.
yeah, that's a gross blue. That's not a fun blue.
Like barbershop hair juice or the comb juice blue.
Oh yeah, oh I know what you're talking about. The barbicide. Barbicide stuff.
What are we doing here?
All right, let's close it out on the news. HTC Amazon smartphone. The smartphone family that is rumored to be in development by HTC for Amazon is a bad idea, says pundit Stephen Schenck of Pocketnow.com. Tell us why, Stephen.
Well, I just feel like it's HTC falling back on its old habits back in, Windows mobile days when it was churning out plenty of devices for other people but wasn't making much of a name for itself, and it's grown a lot since then. And I'm worried that these, troubled times it's seeing are sort of causing it to go back to its safety net.
Yeah.
And I don't think that a lot of people were agreeing with me based on the comments I saw. They think that HTC just getting any business at all could help. And sure, it'll keep the company going, and maybe that will then allow it to, a year from now, put more resources on its own phones. Or maybe it's big enough that it can do two things at once. It can pat its head and rub its tummy without falling over. But
Who's this Schenck guy? I could do his job better than he could. That's pretty much the
weird,
comment.
though. First we saw the Facebook phone, and now
Right.
this. It's like HTC's losing its HTC-ness.
I wanted to ask some questions about the HTC First at HTC Frequencies, and I actually didn't get to. We didn't talk about it at all. But
So who's
I missed that
responsible for that?
do you know
I kind of missed that phone.
Do you know who was carrying? Well, Taylor, that's why I bring it up. You know who was carrying one was Rich Brome from Phone Scoop, and
Really?
he was nice enough to let me borrow it during a car ride at one point for like a couple minutes, and I was like, my God, this thing feels great. It's
It
a
does.
great little phone.
It is. It's like
It was like
HTC's Moto X. It really
I was just gonna say that.
It is.
Yeah,
So is.
I want one. Like I want to
The
just
little
get
engine
one.
that could.
They're so nice.
You know,
like,
they're-
people made fun of me. You made fun of me
I
after
sure
that
did.
review because I liked it.
No, but then I came on the podcast. I remember this. I came on the podcast. And I was like, Taylor, I apologize because I went to an AT&T store and handled that first. It's cool, but even then, it had a stupid cradle on. The stupid retail anti-theft thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to actually hold one. And then I held the one in London. I was like, oh my God, it's so cool.
I even
Yeah,
like the
you,
circle on it.
Yeah, the circle's even cool.
I like it.
I like the
too.
buttons. You get it. You disable Facebook Home, and you call it a day, and you have a stock Android phone, and it's great.
Yeah.
Like
And
the only thing that wasn't great on there was the camera, and it wasn't bad for a 5-megapixel camera or 4. I can't remember. I think it's 5.
It's probably 5.
It wasn't bad. Like it would take decent shots. The low light was terrible, but I would say that it actually has a comparable camera to the Moto X. Like I would carry the first. I would. It was a good phone.
We should all just turn like nouveau hipster, and everyone in the Pocketnow team should get an HTC First. Like that should be the official Pocketnow team phone. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes. Can we get them Pocketnow branded? Because that would be cool, too.
There
We
you
need to
go.
get a skin on them. Yeah. All right. So that's cool. So, Stephen, I like your perspective. I understand. I like Stephen's pieces because he frequently puts stuff in context and sees things from a perspective I ordinarily wouldn't, and I really like that. I know exactly where you're coming from. I used to sell phones back when HTC was making them for other people, and I was like, man, these guys are going to be great if they ever just break out on their own and do their own thing. And then they were for a couple years, and now they're still great, but nobody buys them. So it's I don't know. I'm just excited to see these HTC Amazon phones if they do come to pass.
Yeah,
because
what
I'm
we've been
excited
hearing.
to see new things from HTC, even if they are making them for somebody else.
Yeah, I really want to see these rumors about the. They were talking about maybe being 4 cameras on the corners of the phone. There was a patent that I think Amazon had for this technology that would allow for really accurate in-space position sensing of your hands. So gestures, not just like air gestures using a single camera like on Samsung, but you could like reach in towards the screen and It would also have this sort of pseudo 3D effect. It just sounds really interesting and potentially more useful than those real 3D screens we had a year or two ago that were complete fizzles.
I love Michael's reaction. Whoa.
That is the kind of phone feature that you would think up like while high, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how you sounded. You're just kind of like, whoa, dude. Is it Friday?
Yeah, no, it's not at all, and it should be.
Oh my gosh!
So we'll wait to see what comes out of that, Stephen. I hope one of those cool, groundbreaking features. Because you know what we don't need? We don't need a handheld Kindle Fire. That's what we don't need.
No, we do not. Yeah. We do not need Amazon skin on it.
Oh, I don't think we can do anything about that.
If it's good, then I'll take it. If it's not good, then I don't want it either. So far, the only skin I really like is Sense. So.
I never got to write the editorial I wanted to about an Amazon phone, which was based on a rumor that Amazon denied, but it was the rumor about an Amazon phone being free.
Oh, right. I remember.
Yeah. There's part of that that's back now. They weren't talking about it being free, but that it still might be some sort of Prime exclusive.
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense to me, but
yeah,
I
don't know. But I'd look at it. But I don't want Amazon skin. Like, it is one of the worst skins.
You haven't seen it on a handheld yet. They're going to redesign it for the handheld if they do a phone, and it's possible that it'll look good. They're not going to do the magazine analog. They're not going to do the scrolling carousel of titles because that makes no sense on the phone. So they'll do something different.
But it also means that you're not going to have Google Play services at all. So it's not really.
Oh, why?
Android
because they're going to be
Capital
forked.
A Android.
Yeah. Right, so you're tied into Amazon's ecosystem. That's the whole point of it existing.
Yeah.
Which is not cool. I love Amazon. I buy a ton of stuff from Amazon and Woot, which is also an Amazon company. But
is it now? Oh, man.
That's my
I was a huge Woot guy back in the day, but stopped using it several years ago.
I've never been a Woot dude.
Huh.
That was my favorite rumor that never came to pass, was that when we were all like, who's going to buy WebOS? That Amazon was going to buy it. I think that would have been really, really very cool.
Man,
we'd be having a totally different conversation right now. It would be awesome. He said as he cradled his dead Pre-3 and thought of the past over cold coffee. Let's get to the end of the podcast because we do have work to do, even though we prefer not to think about that. We are coming into listener mail. You like that Shatner lead-in?
I was expecting there to be a little sound clip in the background there. You hit the board.
There is.
Oh, before we get to listener
in the
mail.
edited version, it's there. Yeah, people are like, what do you mean, Stephen? It was right there. Listeners are very confused right now.
You look like a fool.
What do you want, Taylor?
But before we move on to listener mail, a reminder, there's a Google Play event tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Oh,
really?
Well, it's probably not going to be hardware. I mean, we don't know what it is, so just keep an eye out for that.
I forgot
This will be
about
up by
that.
then. So
It's ironically,
we're not going to.
The word's been no news, either hardware nor software.
That's very
or services.
Yeah, so
that's funny. I hope it's not a big deal because ironically, I'm supposed to go talk with somebody this evening about Google stuff. So that's funny. Okay. Well, hopefully it'll be
there's
cool.
that. I just wanted to put that plug in there. So we're not doing we're not doing a round table for it or anything because we don't think anything's going to happen. Now, chances are all these rumors are bogus and something's going to happen and none of us will be on our toes and then everything will go haywire because that's how this week has been.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So there's that. But I'll be working until late tonight. I'll probably editorialize something that happens there because I've done very little this week.
I have never looked forward to a weekend as much as I've looked forward to this weekend.
You and me both, buddy.
That being said, I think it's time for the bong bong, and it's time for listener mail. Remington Jackson kicks us off on our first piece of listener mail. Dear Pocketnow podcast, he says, I've been looking at the Pebble smartwatch and wanted some advice. What are the most useful features that all you think this device has to offer besides telling time, showing distance during runs, and as a dedicated Bluetooth device? Well, this is an easy question to answer. First of all, showing distance during runs. Remington, I know it does that, but I have no experience in that because I don't do that whole exercise thing.
Yeah.
My car's for.
Yeah. Remington, for
That's
me,
what Michael does.
What?
That's what Michael does. He enables it, and then he runs and jumps on the bus.
That's exactly right.
Rides around town.
I get 17 steps from my front door to the bus stop.
There you go.
No. You enable it, and then you hop on the bus, and you ride around, and you feel good because you can look at your watch, and it says you actually did something. When in fact,
Is it
you didn't.
GPS-based, or is it like a pedometer?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, it's GPS-based.
Okay.
No, wait a second. If it's got an accelerometer in it, so you can get a pedometer if you want. In which case, that whole bus joke wouldn't work, Taylor.
You hit a
but we're talking
pothole, you're
about
like
Runkeeper.
If you hit a pothole,
one step every 6 blocks.
Exactly. So anyway, Remington, answer your question. Notifications, man. Like that's what the Pebble does.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you mean by as a dedicated Bluetooth device, Remington, but no, man. I mean, it's notifications for me is the number one thing that I love the Pebble for because, as we've said a bunch of times, you don't have to take your phone out of your pocket like at all.
And
just to read
music control.
inbound stuff and music control if you use the stock music player, right?
No, you can use Spotify. It's got support for all of them.
Oh, really? I didn't know
as
you
long
could use it with Spotify.
Yeah, what it does is if you go into the app and you set your default music player. So if an application is set to play music,
I did know
like
that.
if it has that capability, then you can set it as your default music player.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So you can use it to skip tracks without taking your phone out of your pocket or using that stupid little wonky button on your headphones, which never works, right?
How is that any different than just using the watch?
What?
What do you mean?
I mean, it's actuating a control that's not on your phone. What's the difference between doing it on the watch and doing it on the cord?
Well, because the chord button, I don't know about you guys, but I never have any luck with it's like double tap to advance to the next track, and then I'll I won't get the timing right, and it'll pause instead.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's stupid shit.
Also, I leave my phone across the room, and I set a speaker up near me. Sometimes, like if I need to charge my phone or whatever, and I have Pebble on my wrist, I just skip and pause and play from across the room.
Plus, like the little modules on the cords on headphone wires. Guys, I wear a lot of collared shirts. Like very rarely do I wear a shirt without.
Mr.
Without
Fancy.
Because I'm a fancy dude. No, but like it gets hung up on my collars, and I'll turn my head to see something and rip the earbud out of my. I'm like, I hate it. So I tuck the stupid module into my neck, which is why when I call Taylor when we're having like a deep throat news conference like we did yesterday about breaking top secret news. Taylor's like, you sound like you're in a wind tunnel. I'm like, shut up, man. Boston's windy.
Can you never refer to your conversations with me as a deep throat something? Please?
Get with the news lingo, buddy.
After tucking something in your throat, I don't know what's happening right now.
Remington, we hope
apps.
we've answered your question.
I'm looking at Pebble apps. You can also put notes on your Pebble, so if you need something to remind you, you can actually edit and look at notes on your watch.
You can use if this, then that will plug into it, so you can do a whole bunch of stuff. Remington, it's a very expandable device. It doesn't seem like it because the screen is it's like something out of, 1989, but it's really, really adaptable. It's really versatile. And because the screen is that e-ink, display. God, I always get that wrong. It's e-ink, not e-paper, right?
It's e-paper, not e-ink.
I thought it was an LCD.
Yes, e-paper is an LCD. It's a black and white LCD.
Because the display is using
is.
that technology, it doesn't use a lot of battery life. So there's
who's flying an RC plane, right?
I'm sorry. They're disassembling the sidewalk near my office. So sorry about that, guys.
Apart?
Yeah. And you can park under them and stuff. Fancy. But the thing is, buy one, Remington. If you are thinking that you might like it, buy one. Use it for the return period. If you hate it, return it.
And then lambast Michael on Twitter.
Absolutely. Leave a comment about how we're all wrong. Thank you for writing in, though. It's good to hear from you again. Owen Little is the next one. And Taylor, why don't you read that one?
Nokia I can't read.
Give it another go. And take two. Go.
Nokia's announcements of the 1520 and 2520 at Nokia World highlight a potential problem for Microsoft Nokia not faced by Android and iOS. Both of these devices use the same Snapdragon 800 but offer different operating systems, capabilities, and apps. What screen size is the right crossover point for Windows Phone 8 to Windows RT? Windows 8 RT. Does Microsoft need to unify these before it can succeed? Thanks for the great show. It's a must listen every week.
So, Stephen, are you still there?
I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, what happened? I was looking
Little glitch there.
So
I was looking around to see what happened.
I'm sorry, Owen. Yeah, Owen, I'm sorry. As your mail was being read, Skype gave us the sign off sound, and then I'm actually looking at a screen right now that says call ended with Stephen Schenck and Taylor Martin.
But I'm still.
But, we're still here, and the call recorder button is still flashing. So I think we're still good. I hope we're still good, because otherwise,
we just redo the past hour and a half.
Yeah. So sorry. Thanks for the great show. It's a must listen every week. First of all, thank you for that. And then, how would you answer this question, Taylor?
I would hand it over to Steve because he was talking about this earlier, actually. The crossover point should be somewhere around 6 to 7 inches. But from Windows Phone 8 to
Windows Phone 8 to Windows 8 RT. What screen size is the right crossover point?
Something running with the 6-inch display is not quite big enough for Windows RT. I don't think something with a 7 maybe, but I don't know. I'm saying keep that like maybe 8 to 10-inch tablets as RT, but then you've got this like just get rid of RT altogether. Why don't you just run Windows Phone 8 on everything up to 10-inch and then have your Pro, like your Surface Pros and your Windows 8 Pro tablets? Like, I don't understand why RT needs to exist with Windows Phone 8 out there. Rebrand Windows Phone 8 as something else. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense to anyone.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't ever considered running Windows Phone as like a tablet, as a tablet OS on something like a 7-inch tablet. That would make a lot more sense than RT in some respects, because you are getting the advantage of the Windows Phone 8 app ecosystem, at least, which is much more robust.
Yeah.
Than the Windows RT.
Also, those guys outside are trolling you.
I know. I'm dropping out. I'm going to mute.
It was like dead silence, and then Michael starts to talk.
And then they start.
No, Taylor, your idea is solid, though, on that. I completely agree. Although there's something obvious that we're missing. What is it? What practical advantage besides fake desktop does RT offer over... is it all layout? Is it all like taking advantage of optimization?
It allows the manufacturers to use the ARM-based chips. I don't know what the actual component costs are, but maybe they're more affordable than the Atoms that you need for the Pro.
I don't know. Maybe, but with, say, running Windows Phone 8 on even a 10-inch tablet, couldn't you just do kind of like a snap mimic feature where if the developer hasn't supported a full 10-inch screen, you just snap a tiny little part of it on part of your screen and do sort of like multi-window? To me, I feel like you could do a lot with it. A lot more than this half-baked operating system that really doesn't have a place in this world. That was kind of harsh, but I mean it. I mean it wholeheartedly.
Compelling thoughts.
I wouldn't mind not seeing a hard crossover from Windows Phone 8 to RT. We could have maybe not necessarily RT, but Windows 8 Pro. I think we could stand to have both full-on Windows and Windows Phone-based devices living in the same sort of size range. This 7 to 8-inch, probably. Yeah, let the market decide which one's better.
Yeah, and just abolish RT altogether.
I think we are going to see some interesting interactions between RT and Windows Phone 8 as time goes on. But yeah, I would agree with you that the rough crossover size is probably 7 to 8 inches, in my opinion. And does Microsoft need to unify these before it can succeed? Yeah, and I think so. And I think we all think so. And I think everybody thinks so. I think Microsoft thinks so.
Microsoft has 3 operating systems. Who else does that? Apple has 2. Google has 2. Microsoft has 3, and they all look exactly the same. So it's like, why?
You said, yeah. All right, well, let's move on. I think we covered it a little bit earlier in the show, so if you jumped right to listener mail, and hop back up to the Windows section, we talked about that a little bit more in the midst of a whole bunch of trips into the weeds. And we hope you enjoy those. I'll take the next piece of listener mail from Jace Crozon. Guys, just a really quick question about the One Max. What are those 3 dots or circles on the back right side of it? Yeah, I'll take this because I completely failed to call these out on the video review, and then I was like, oh, I got to put that in the written review, and then I really didn't. Those are Pogo connectors. They exist so that you can use accessories with the One Max, such as the charging power sleeve that HTC is marketing to go along with it, which uses an external battery to provide additional power. It's really nothing new. The Pogo connectors, we see them on a lot of devices. The
Nexus 1, they were on the Nexus 1.
The Galaxy Nexus had them as well. Some of the Nexus 7s have them, don't they?
Yes, the original Nexus 7.
Yeah, you can do that with those things. Like, you can do a lot with them. You can do external charging sleeves. I think you can make like docks that take advantage of the Pogo connectors, right?
Yeah. So they have docks.
They don't get.
That's what they're originally designed for. Is, hey, here's a dock you can also get for your phone, for your nightstand or your desk or whatever. And then they never release the dock, or they release the dock like 8 months after the phone comes out, and nobody cares about it anymore. Yeah. And then they charge like $80 for a piece of plastic and a charger.
Or they implement it poorly, such as in the Lumia 1020, where you can also see the Pogo connectors, and then you slap a wireless charging cradle on there that doesn't really mesh up well with the Pogo connectors, and as a result, it doesn't work.
So I was wondering when you mentioned that earlier when you said it didn't work well, if you just meant like it didn't like if it was broken, and that sounds like what you're saying.
Well, no, that was one of those situations where I was like, guys, thank you for sending this. I think you sent me a defective one. Could you send me another one? Then they sent me another one. I'm like, oh, no, this is just crap. And then I look on the forums of the world, and everyone's like, why doesn't this work? I'm like, oh, right, because it's defective.
That's the problem with Pogo connectors. I mean, they're great because they're not going to get damaged. You're not going to bend a pin because it's perfectly flat on the device, but they can get dirty. You can have alignment problems, so it's a trade-off.
The accessory maker has to manufacture accessories to a very specific tolerance when you're talking about Pogo connectors, because the usable area to work with is very small, and you can have an alignment problem. Go ahead, Taylor, and then you get to read the last piece of listener mail.
I want to read a piece.
Oh, wait, Stephen, didn't you already?
No.
I am so tired. Stephen, you get to read the last piece of listener mail. Taylor, you get to talk for 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, so Samsung, it is...
You messed up. You messed up already.
There goes 10 seconds. Samsung did this with the Note 2, but it wasn't... They didn't have Pogo pins, but it was a dock, so this is kind of the same thing. But, okay, yeah, cool. Sorry, I got an email from Brandon. So what they did is they created this dock which would turn your Galaxy Note 2 into basically a computer. So it's a dock with a monitor port, a keyboard, and USB ports for a keyboard and mouse. And they announced it like 8 months after the Note 2 came out.
Yeah.
Not 8 months, like 4 or 5 months. And then they released it like 4 months after that. Like it just never really came to be. So
it's like the Galaxy S3 wireless charging dock that didn't happen until like the Galaxy S4 came out.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff. It's all this crap. Stephen, read that last thing.
Okay, this one is from Matt Lawrence.
Yes.
He writes in to ask, would you prefer having one platform in your life across multiple devices, on your cell phone, tablet, PC, all that, or would you rather switch things up, have different platforms on different devices? He says there's certainly advantages to having the same platform across them, including app and data crossover and similar UIs, but with cloud services and apps available cross-platform, it might be less of an issue, and wants to know if that matters to us.
I love this question. Even if I didn't, I'll answer first. Even if I didn't have constant access to devices on different platforms and a need to use different platforms, I would totally have devices on different platforms, because I love that different UIs work better on different screen sizes. And as I think I've said before, my ideal setup is like Mac OS on the desktop, Android on a tablet, and Windows Phone on a smartphone. Like, that's kind of where I'm happiest. And I seldom have problems with the multiple device, multiple platform problem, because I use a lot of cloud-based stuff. Like, all my music is Spotify-based. All my notes are in Evernote or OneNote or whatever, and those are both cross-platform. And then I've got a bunch of crap in Google Drive. Like, I don't really need... I think when it would cost me if I wanted to jump ship from one platform entirely and leap into another. In terms of purchased apps and things, at this point it would cost me like $20 of like rebuying stuff. It's really not as big a deal as I think a lot of people think it is for everyone. But I'm sure you guys have different answers.
Manufacturers... go ahead, Taylor.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Michael. I use Mac OS on my desktop. I have an Android phone, an iPhone, and a Windows phone, and I actively carry at least 2 of them, switching out different phones. I have a 7-inch Android tablet, which I think is my favorite Android tablet size, and then I'm going to have an iPad Air, which will be mine. So I have a lot of devices, and having services that work across all of those is all important. Although I have switched over almost entirely to Google Play Music, it's something that I just have to deal with. But yeah, I would not prefer to have one platform across all devices, or one experience even across all devices. Because we've talked about that before, how iOS is kind of merging with OS X, at least in the fact that you get a very similar experience across both of them. Having the same exact experience on my computer, a tablet, and a smartphone would drive me up the wall.
Yeah, no,
because there's no one size fits all UI, no one size fits all experience, really.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Stephen?
Manufacturers, I understand that they would really love us to be just married to the one platform for life. I think Microsoft is pushing this harder than everyone. I mean, they even have the Xbox factored in for your bringing the living room into this. But I am fine with switching between platforms. I mean, I'm Android for my primary phones right now, so that's not really an option on the desktop. So I'm already using multiple platforms, but like you guys have been saying, you want what's best for the device, and with all the cloud services we have now to save our stuff to, we can access it easily. And when we do have, if you buy a bunch of music on iTunes, you can always just import it into Google Music and move it between these more device or more platform-centered services. So I say, use whatever you want on the device that works best for you.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I will not let this one thing pass. In our final piece of listener mail there, Matt did also say that he just started listening to our podcast and he really enjoys it. So I want to say thank you to Matt, and thank you to anyone that we managed to retain after our guest episode with Marques Brownlee on the show. We know a lot of you came over. We're expecting a video podcast. But to those of you who enjoyed the audio show, the weekly, thank you for sticking with us. We are happy to have you on board. Gentlemen, thank you for helping me answer those listener mails. Thank you for helping me co-host the show. Is there anything you guys want to say before we close out? Taylor first, since he usually gets the jump on Stephen in these kind of situations.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, quick on the ball, man.
Is it Friday yet?
No.
Or Saturday? Saturday morning
I'm going
yet?
to send you a poster with a dangling cat on it that says, "Hang in there."
Cool.
Stephen?
Nope.
Listen, man, I hope your furnace gets fixed, brother.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
so do I.
I don't want to hear that you have succumbed to the elements.
I'm planning to be on the live Friday morning, so I'm going to be in like a parka.
Please have a bonfire burning in the background.
Nice.
He's going to have snot sickles like hanging from his nose.
Listen.
So tune in, folks.
Yeah, make sure your will is updated, and if you do succumb to the elements, please send your karaoke microphone to Adam Dowd, because God knows he needs one.
It's an upgrade for him.
It is. Tesla himself.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Weekly. Tune in for our Pocketnow VIP with Marques Brownlee, who I've talked about recently. Tomorrow's Friday. Tune in for that. Until then, you can find us on Twitter. Taylor is at Caspertech, Caspertek. Stephen, who's going to be on the Pocketnow Live tomorrow as well, is Stephen Schenck, StephenSchenchenck. And as always, you can find me at Captain Two Phones. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow on Twitter, as Pocketnow on Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. And you can share opinions with other listeners online at forums.pocketnow.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes or Xbox Music. And if you have a topic, question, suggestion for the podcast, or you just want to say hi, email us a brief message at podcast@pocketnow.com. If it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
NASCAR!
God.
How's this?
You're fine. It's fine.
I don't think it's me, because I can hear it as well. Like, even if
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
Steven.
we lost him. Oh, yeah. Of course it's me.
if I'm muted, it's Steven.
Oh, you know what the problem is, Steven? It's just probably just your mic. I mean, what mic are you using?
Karaoke Revolution mic.
Well, there's your problem.